About almost 7 years old, Aaron was not able to talk. Aaron was nonverbal. And he was sensitive to sound, touch. He was sensitive to light. He had no sense of danger. He couldn't look at you eyeball to eyeball. His eyes would wander. He was in a different world. Even though his body was growing, his mind was not maturing. We took him to many doctors. They couldn't give us the idea of what was going on. He wasn't able to be potty trained at 7 years old. Everything was just so hard. And day after day, the cycle was I would come home from work, Melina would go to bed, I would stay up with him, and then it was time for me to go to bed. She would have to get up. And that was the daily process for many years. And it was dark, and it was hard, and we went to the doctors in Birmingham, Alabama, and they told us after a day of testing, the doctors said, well, now this was 19 years ago, the doctor said, well, your son has autism. Your son has an expressive receptive language disorder. And we went on down to all these labels that they had labeled him. And I looked at the doctor and I said, what does all this mean? They said, well, we don't know exactly how it's going to come about. But we do know this. Your son graded at an 18-month-old level at almost 7 years old. They said that he will never speak a word in his life. About 10 different doctors all concurred. They give us a list of group homes and they said, these are the homes that you can put him in, let them raise him, and you can live your life. I'm going to tell you, friend, God give us Aaron, and it doesn't matter what he looks like, how he talks, where he's been, God sent him to us. We went home that day, and I laid across the bed, and I said this, Lord, the Bible tells us, your word says that we're fearfully and wonderfully made by you. And you make no mistakes. And God, no matter if he talks or does anything, we're going to raise him and we're going to love him and we're going to be the very, very best parents. And if he doesn't able to talk on this side, Lord, just maybe when we step over into the glory land, we can have a conversation. But honey, let me tell you, God had bigger plans than that. There's so much I can tell you, but I got to hurry. One day I was standing in the kitchen, and all these months had passed, and the doctors seemed like they were right. And all of a sudden I heard Aaron coming in the living room, and he was grunting. That's the way he communicated. And I heard this out of the blue. No warning or no nothing. Hey, Daddy! Y'all? This fat boy run fast that day. I ran into the living room and I looked at the TV, I looked at the CD player. Some of you young people that might be in here, you're not going to know what I'm about to say. I looked at the boom box that they had. They don't know what that is nowadays. And none of it was on. I looked down and there was Aaron for the very first time in my life. A different expression. Looking straight at me, smiling like that right there. At that moment, at that hour, at that day, God touched our boy without medicine, without doctors. And friend, let me tell you, if God is on the throne, there's always hope for you and me. Hallelujah. 10 years old now. At 10 years old, he learned to start singing a little bit, but he was still barely learning to talk. So he was singing and talking and trying to do both. And he came to me and he said, Dad, can I sing a song? I said, you can do it. We went to church. We didn't know what he had practiced. We didn't even know what he had rehearsed. He stood up that day as we were walking down. He came and grabbed me by the coat. He looked at me and he's 10, barely talking. He said, Daddy. I said, what? He said, I'm a gospel singer today. He stood up and he done this song. When I heard the music start, I looked at my wife, I said, there's no way he can do this song. But God has used him all over the country. You're going to know this song. This is his testimony song. Would y'all welcome Mr. Aaron to the stage? One more